Okay. All right. Microphone check one, two. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. And today we have a very special show. And this show is about some of the trials that I've covered over the years. And today I picked a special trial I've covered because it involves one of the biggest superstars in America. And I would say an international superstar. But before we go into that, I want to do a quick roll call because this is a members only live. This is a members only live. I have not broadcast this to the world. So this is a members only live, but I wanted to kind of test the waters, so to speak. Back in 2012, I covered the custody case involving celebrity superstar Usher Raymond and his then wife, Tamika Raymond. And many of you who were around back then, which I'm assuming if you're here, you were around back then, knew that this was a very contentious trial involving one of the biggest names in music, and that's Usher Raymond. And I want to give you some background on this particular trial coverage. This was actually my first time working with TMZ. And I'll give you I'll tell you a little bit about how I landed the spot. So there was another person who I'm not going to say their name that TMZ had reached out to cover this trial. And apparently, the first day of trial, this individual came in with a cell phone. And now think about this. We're in 2024. In 2012, the technology for the phones wasn't that great. If you can remember, the phone technology wasn't that great. So the individual came in with a phone and shot probably maybe 10 minutes of footage, and he sent it in. And they would say, no. You can't cover a big trial like this without the right equipment. So he hits me up and says, hey, Dennis, I need you to cover this trial because they're laughing at my work. And I'm like, what trial is it? Then he told me who it was. I said, okay, I'll come down. I mean, if the money right, yeah, I'll cover it. So I came in and I had already knew Usher from events, parties, and so forth. But I didn't know Tamika. Did I know Tamika? I didn't really know Tamika. I knew of her because she was a high fashion stylist. She was a stylist that was known in the industry. And I knew that those two had gotten married. And they weren't married a long time, but I knew they got married. And I believe they got married in his office or something. But the marriage didn't work. And they had two children from that marriage. And I didn't know at the time that trial would be talked about all over the world. It wasn't just local newspapers. It was national websites covering this. And I shot the footage. I was the one that was shooting the footage for that trial. So over time, I got to see a different side of Usher and to also learn a lot about family court cases. And one of the attorneys that represented Usher is now deceased. Rest in peace to John Mayu. John Mayu represented Usher during the time, along with Ivory Brown. And I believe he had one other counsel, but I know those two because those two did a lot of the cross-examination of Tamika. Backstory. Since that trial, Tamika and I became good friends. I have a newfound respect for her because there was a lot of things happening covering that trial. And if guys, you remember, her son Kyle died at Lake Lanier during an accident. So this all was happening during the time I was covering the case. So there were a lot of highs and lows. I would say this lasted several months, going back and forth with the Germans and so forth. But I want you guys to look at some of the footage that I shot during the time, and I want to be able to talk about it. I want to be able to talk about it. But before we start doing that, I'm getting a text, and I think the people want to see the coverage. Oh my goodness, they want to see some of it. Shout out to the beautiful mixed chick. I see you in the building. Mixed chick. Shout out to Sweet and Sexy 66 and Miss Lady T. Are you with me? So we're going to play the first part in our membership, and then we're going to make a decision whether or not we want to open it up for other people. With that, I'm going to bring up the first clip.
Around 2:44, is that correct?
Okay, so this is Usher then. This is him then. And of course, your boy shot this. My game, and I don't know if I had Big Bertha back then. I don't know if I had Big Bertha, but nevertheless, here's some of the footage. We're gonna play some of it. Let's go.
And can you tell me why you didn't call Miss Raymond until 3:27 that day?
I'm not sure that that's the exact time that I called. But the first thing to do was to respond to the emergency. As I knew I was only one exit from my home, at which point I went straight there to assess what really had happened.
Okay, so what we're listening to, there was an emergency involving one of the children. There was an accident. And as a result of that accident, there was an emergency motion filed by Tamika. And now the witness, Usher, is testifying to what he did leading up to this accident, because she's trying to get full custody of both children. And they're now grown, but this is back then.
When I arrived, my son was hysterical, and in the back of the ambulance, I knew that there had been an incident in the pool, but I didn't have clarity of exactly what took place. When I got in the back of the ambulance, he was hysterical. He didn't want to go to the hospital. He was very irate, and I did my best to calm him down and help him understand what had taken place. After I got him calm, as he just wanted me to put a Band-Aid on, and he didn't want to go to the hospital as he stated. But once we got him here and we checked him in, they began to do an assessment. I still did not have a clear understanding of all the things that had taken place. I was just reacting as any father would, out of concern. As I didn't suspect that he was in grave danger because, one, how he was acting. Two, I hadn't had the opportunity to speak to anyone else. I just reacted instantly to come to his assistance. When I arrived at the hospital, and I spoke with the individuals who were assisting him, They did a series of tests, prodding, touching him, asking him questions, taking blood pressure, so on and so forth. And unfortunately, I still didn't have an idea what was going on. Once I did and understood that this was severe, I then took a moment while in the room to call Mrs. Raymond and
Let me
inform
ask
her.
you this. You called Mrs. Raymond, Miss Raymond, from the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't call from the ambulance?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Okay, and when you did call, you told her that he had a cut in his arm.
Actually, that's not exactly what I said. What I said is that I wanted her to understand that I did not have full information of what took place, as I still didn't understand the severity of the incident, but I wanted her to remain calm, as I knew any reaction to her would cause her to be hysterical.
Okay, so let me ask you this though. At the time that you called her, you already stated that they had run some tests. Is that correct?
They were prodding him. I don't know how accurate you could say that they were actual tests. Again,
They were doing some evaluations.
they were doing some evaluations. The individuals in the back of the ambulance were informing me as well what took place. I saw that he was gasping for breath, so I know that he probably took in a fair amount of water, and the best thing for him to do would be to go to the emergency room and have them make an assessment.
Sure, absolutely. And you didn't tell Miss Raymond that she needed to hurry to the hospital, did you?
I told her that as of right now, Usher's fine, that there had been an incident in the pool, and he's breathing, he's fine, he's a little hysterical, but you should get here. We're at Scottish, we're at the hospital. And she informed me that she was having a root canal at the time. I said, you should definitely get here, but
She
understand
arrived
that.
after right?
I'm
She
sorry.
arrived pretty shortly after that?
She arrived shortly after that.
Okay. And when you received a call about little Usher, who called you?
When I received a call about Little Usher, I had gotten a call from my manager, Chris Miguel, as she had received word that Usher had had an accident, and that he was headed to the hospital, and that I should have been there. Of course, I made her aware that I was only one exit away from the house, so I would meet them there, as opposed to him, going to the hospital and meeting them there. I got my car and came immediately.
Okay, so did Aunt Rena or somebody else call Miss McGowan and tell her?
I think I had reached out to myself as well as Mrs. Miguel.
Okay, but the first call you got was from Miss McGill.
When I really found out what had taken place.
What I'm saying is when the first call you got that says, hey, something happened in Washington, where did that come from?
The first call that came to my phone was Rena Hogan, mine.
Okay, so it wasn't necessarily true that the first call was from Miss McGill.
No, when I first understood what took place, you asked me when I had knowledge of what had taken place.
Okay, so what did Aunt Rena tell you?
Aunt Rena, unfortunately, had called, and my phone went to voicemail. The next call immediately after that was Mrs. Chris Miguel. As I said, I got a full understanding of what took place.
So you didn't speak to Aunt Rena?
I did not speak to her immediately.
Okay. So Grace Miguel, is it your understanding she got a call from Aunt Rena, or she was at your house when this happened?
She was at the house.
Okay, so for those who are joining in, I had told the members how I was able to cover this case. This is the first time I covered a family court case. I believe this is the first time I covered one. And this was back in 2012. So you will have to play back, go to the beginning of the video, because we've been going on for about 15 minutes already. And this is a emergency hearing where Tamika Raymond, Usher's former wife, was trying to get full custody of the children because his son had an accident in the water. His son had an accident in the water. This is not to be confused with the loss Tamika suffered with her son Kyle, who died in Lake Lanier during the time I was covering this case back in 2012. I'm the only journalist covering this trial, this custody case from the very beginning. And there's some other footage that those who have actually followed this case from back then, there was a piece where Usher actually cried in the courtroom. And, you know, the thing about covering family court cases is there's a lot of emotions there. And I've since covered some of the biggest celebrity family custody cases, from Ludacris to Allen Iverson to the Housewives, some big cases. However, I hadn't shared the footage, all the footage, but the story has been picked up around the world. So with that, I believe I had Big Bertha at the time. No, I upgraded. So this is 2012. So I had a new one. It was probably Little Bertha, but this is Big Bertha in full form in the courtroom. And this is what Usher's telling he's being examined by Tamika's lawyer right now.
Who was at the house? I'm sorry, Amina was at the house.
Ms. Miguel, though.
I'm not sure if she was at the house.
Okay, when you arrived at the home, she was.
Yes, she was.
Okay, and did anyone tell you when you were driving to the home that someone was performing CPR on the child?
It was very cloudy. I couldn't 100% make out what was going on. I just felt like the most important part would be for me to get there as quick as possible to make an assessment on my own. I'm trying to listen, to the phone, find if there's a message, normally there's a quick message button I can push on my phone, and if there's a call, I'm trying to listen to that, listen to her. I just basically said I'm on my way home, and came immediately.
Okay, and so from about 2:44 to say 3:30, somewhere around there, it didn't cross your mind to call Ms. Ranger?
It did not cross my mind.
Now, hold on, guys. I ain't trying to pat myself on the back, but check out that framing. Check out how I have Usher in the frame. So I had a great position. Now, framing is important when you're covering a trial. It's important. And I knew what the assignment was. I knew that this coverage would be shown worldwide. So I didn't come in with the cell phone, because one time I covered a case with a cell phone. Shout out to Little Scrappy. But I had to bring the big equipment in. I had a superstar on center stage. I couldn't mess this up. I could not mess this up.
To call her, as I didn't know what I would tell her, as I still did not know exactly what had taken place, and I wanted to know for myself.
How about there's been an accident? Would that have been appropriate to tell the mother?
As I did tell her when I actually got on the phone, because at that point I knew.
About an hour later, though?
I can't say that it was an hour later.
You didn't call her immediately, though?
I called her immediately when I knew.
We got over that. Let's move on to something.
Mr. Rich, you say you're renting this home. Is that what your attorney said earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you just recently moved in, right? 2 months ago?
Yes, ma'am.
The pool, have you been in it yourself?
Yes, I have.
Did you ever notice anything about the drain?
What do you mean, did I notice anything about the drain?
anything out of the ordinary compared to other pools you may have been in at either your prior residences or, other friends, family members of pools?
I had no reason to suspect that something was wrong with the pool, as I have the pool service every month, twice a month actually, and I've never been made aware that that was an issue with the pool.
When it's serviced, does that mean that they are fixing the chemical balance of the pool? Are they cleaning the pool? Are they inspecting the pool for safety issues? What does the company do?
There's an array of things that the company does to inspect the pool, to make sure that the filters are properly working, that it's functioning, that the chemical levels are proper inside of the pool. And
So she's asking him about the chemicals in the pool. Now think about this. You have a pool, it's either salt water or it's chlorine. So if there's an accident, why are we talking about chemicals in the water? Because it's either one or two things, salt water or chlorine. But the lawyer's asking him about the chemicals in the water. Did he plan for his son to have an accident? And yes, this is about a little over 10 years ago.
I never received notice that there was anything wrong with it.
Have you had any kind of home inspection done or anything in the home or pool?
Not a formal inspection.
And you had pools at your previous homes, is that right?
Yes, I had pools at my previous homes, the one that I lived in when I was married to Mrs. Raymond, as well as the home that I live in now, as well as the one I lived in before.
So they asked him again, he's just going into the quality of his pool. But before I continue playing that part, I want you to listen to Tamika now.
He's not taking it. Come here, get his towel. Let me know when they come here, Miss Vicky, come here. I'm sorry, ma'am. It's okay. Stay with me. I need you to take a deep breath as well. It can happen in a matter of seconds. Now you try to take it. It'll be okay. It's gonna be okay. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. EMS is there. Did they come in the door yet? They came in the door yet. It's somebody. I can't see nobody. You just said you saw the truck pulling out the truck is in here, but I don't see nobody yet. Okay, that's the back of the house, or they coming through that? They coming through the front right there. Okay, they coming through
Adjust the camera.
They indicate can they get ready to come in.
So the lawyer kept on walking in front of the camera, so I had to adjust it a little.
Ms. Raymond, have you observed any medical conditions in the last 6 months on the children when they return to visits in their father's home?
They come home with bags of medicine. I don't know why. I don't know what illnesses or who's taking them to the doctor, or the fact that they've been to the doctor. He doesn't confer with me regarding anything. Nothing. My son Nabi has sensitive skin, but ironically, every single time he returns from a visit, he's completely broken out in a rash. He has it today. He's always in a rash every single time. I don't know what products they're using. I don't know what he's eating. He has a peanut allergy. I don't know if perhaps, I would imagine they're not giving him peanuts, but maybe something that's, you know, related.
Do you have any idea what's causing these types of medical conditions in boys?
I don't know what's going on.
When they leave your home prior to that visit, are they taking any medications?
They're not sick. They don't have rashes. They're not being met at a hospital when I go pick them up. Like,
Did you ever interact with one of Mr. Raymond's house managers that had any sort of alcohol or drug problems?
I don't get Jack the time frame on it, this is last 6 months.
it is
In the past 6 months?
Yes.
Okay.
the man that was let go, the house manager, that was within 6 months.
Did you observe him smelling alcohol?
I could smell it.
And was he around the children at that time?
He's always around the children, they knew him well. We went over there for Halloween, and he was let go, I think, following January. Well, it's not 6 months, so we're in July or August.
You observed it?
Yes, in 2013.
Okay. But he had been around the children.
He's around the children, he's the house manager, he lives in the guest house.
Okay. What types of things did he do with the children, you know, that you actually observed?
So she's saying that the house manager drinks, but the house manager is not the babysitter. He drinks, but he's not the babysitter. Usher had several babysitters. From what I recall back then, he had several. He had a nanny, a babysitter. I mean, he paid for the proper staff. So let's see how Tamika tries to persuade the court.
I mean, he just kind of like, you know, escort them into different rooms and things like that. When I was there, like I said, it was Halloween, you know, they, you know, were interacting with him.
To your knowledge, was he around the children?
I don't know.
Can you tell me how Naveed was when he arrived at the hospital? What his mood or his behavior was?
Relieved to see me.
Did he appear to be upset?
Just a little shook, you know, he looked unnerved.
Okay. And tell me about what happened with little Usher last night at the hospital.
At about 2 in the morning, his blood pressure, or his heart rate, I'm sorry, it dropped to a dangerous low. It got to like in the 50s.
Okay. Did you make contact with Mr. Raymond?
I sent him an email.
So he was not at the hospital at that time?
No,
Okay. Did he answer you?
no,
Did he come to the hospital?
no.
What did you observe being done to your son?
I sent Mr. Raymond an email and told him that they were gonna have to do an emergency EKG on Usher because his heart rate had stopped. I mean, it had really slowed, and that they deemed it an emergency. Everybody was running around because his heart had slowed all the way down, and he did not respond, nor did he call back, nor did he answer.
What time was that?
That was probably about 1:45 in the morning.
What time did you leave the hospital this morning?
I left at 9:45.
Did you see Mr. Raymond between
No,
that time and this morning?
no. No mornings since my son's been there have I seen him that early.
The children are about to start school next week, is that right?
There's one school enrolled into a new school. I don't know the phone number to his house, where I just got the phone number the day we had a status conference. I didn't have a number to his house where the kids, I've never seen the house. I didn't know his girlfriend lived there. I don't know a lot.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Raymond, let's go back to some of your concerns with safety in the home. Was there
regarding the gun.
No, in
The-
June,
Which,
with your son Usher.
I'm just not sure which, when it's been
Father's
September.
Day is in June.
Okay. He went for a Father's Day visit. He came back and he was limping. And I'm like, what's the problem? I took off his shoe and his sock, and his toe had been gashed open. He had cut it or something, I guess, while playing, but I didn't know anything about it. He was dropped off. It was never mentioned. And I said, well, what happened? Well, I was at Grandma's house, and I was playing outside. I didn't have shoes on, and I cut my toe open. But no one ever talked to me about it. I sent Mr. Raymond an email. I said, now, you berated me about a cut that Usher got a couple of years ago. Don't you think this may need stitches? Should this probably have gotten some medical attention? This is a bad cut. He did not respond. He did not respond. He does not respond.
Did he ever call in?
Listen, boys that age, they roughhouse. It happens. I mean, I had a situation growing up when I was small. I think I stepped on a piece of glass. Did I go to the hospital? No. My mother got a needle and she played doctor. She made a nice size hole, but she mended me. So, I grew up in a different era. But I don't, she's a parent, she's concerned.
Tell you?
He never told me. Never told me. He told me what happened in Dr. Jordan's office, finally.
And Rita was there supervising,
I cannot verify that she was supervising.
because you don't know, we weren't there.
Well, he's underwater for 3 minutes.
But you don't know because you weren't there.
Okay. All right. He was underwater for 3 minutes.
And in fact, very
And rest in peace to John Mayu. John Mayu, that's Mayu, represented Usher in this case. And very, very skillful family court attorney. He's a legend in Atlanta. And of course, Usher brought the best in.
police report finds that Aunt Rita was there supervising, doesn't it? You read the police report?
That's who they were left with. No, I have not.
You're not objecting to the police report coming in or anything that's in it as hearsay. Several layers of hearsay.
What's
No,
actually,
but who reported it to the
What
police?
question did you ask to be answered?
I would just object to any further question about the police report.
moving. And then you allege that Mr. Raymond was out of town in the next paragraph. See that?
Okay.
And that's false as well, isn't it?
I don't know that it's false, because oftentimes when the kids are with the caregivers, he's usually not here. He lives in Los Angeles or LA primarily.
Ms. Raymond, you do not know your own knowledge. You signed an affidavit witnessed by your own lawyer. You don't know from your own knowledge that Mr. Usher Raymond was out of town at the time this accident occurred, do you?
No, I do not.
You don't really know who was at the pool that day, correct?
Well, I was told he was at the pool by him, but it was none of his village that he mentioned.
You don't know whether Aunt Rita was properly supervising the children that day, do you?
How do I answer that?
Yes or no, and then you can explain.
Okay, so no. However, if Aunt Rita had to go into the basement while 2 of my children were in the pool, one is trapped under at the bottom of the pool with his arm stuck in a drain hole, while there's time for a nanny to run down the stairs, or for herself, not the nanny, that's not what she's called, the aunt to run downstairs to get 2 AV workers who were working, and then the housekeepers followed them, but she just said that Naveed jumped in the pool. The story does not make sense. So there was some lack of supervision. Where was Naveed? We don't know.
You don't really know.
I don't.
Correct.
I don't. And that's why we're here.
And
Let them know. That's why we here. I don't know. We're trying to establish this. And fellas, Tamika's a very beautiful woman. She's a very beautiful woman. Yo were giving her all kind of BS back then. I remember before social media blew up. I remember, but she's a beautiful woman. Let's be honest here.
You understand that Rena was sitting directly from the side while the boys were playing?
That's what she testified. I don't
You have
understand.
any evidence to the contrary, do you?
Well, but he was on the water, but
Excuse me, I want you to tell me whether
Okay.
you do or whether you don't, and then you can explain.
he was in the pool for
You
3
don't have-
minutes.
Excuse me, ma'am. You ready? You don't have any evidence that she wasn't sitting right by the pool when this happened, do
No,
you?
I do not. How,
And the good news here is your son was rescued, correct?
the best news.
And you don't know whether Aunt Rita dove into that pool to try to rescue him, do you?
I do not.
Do you know whether Ben, who was at the home, tried to rescue him?
I don't know what they meant.
And you know whether Eugene, who was at the home at the time, tried to rescue him?
That's what I've been told.
Do you know if they immediately performed CPR on your son as soon as he was brought out of the pool?
That's what I was told.
You certainly don't criticize Aunt Rita for running to the phone to call 911 immediately after the child was pulled out of the pool. You don't criticize her for that, do you?
I do not. But can I explain?
You can explain any answer.
Okay, all right.
that you
I do
need.
not think it was wrong for her to call 911, but that was a lengthy phone call while we don't know where the other kids are. One's running around the kitchen, the other one, I can't see anything is a quote that I heard. If she's CPR trained as she testified, then I would think that she would have immediately wanted to be hands-on with that. Why didn't the housekeeper call 911?
Even though the men pulled him out and they were performing CPR, you think she should have not called 911?
Yeah,
Is that your
she should
testimony?
have called 911, yes.
Thank you. And you understand that Mr. Raymond was home within 5 minutes of this incident, do you not?
No, I do not.
Because you don't know, do you?
I want to know where you can drive in 5 minutes in Atlanta. I
Do
just
you
don't
know whether he was there within 5 minutes or not, Mrs. Raymond?
No, I don't.
Thank you. And you would even agree, would you not, that the incident that occurred at the home was an accident?
Definitely.
And without going into the custody trial, which I know we don't want to, you would at least concede, would you not, that Usher the Fifth has been hurt physically while in your care?
While in my care? No, no, that's not true.
You don't remember, and I've got your deposition right here.
Your Honor, I'm going to check since we're sticking to timeframes.
Yeah, because he's never been hurt in my care. Never.
Okay. Would you agree with me that the only new allegation in this emergency petition is this pool accident?
My son's near-death experience, that's definitely, yes.
Thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you got to remember, this happened before her son, Kyle, passed on. So just think about what was going through my mind covering this and then having to learn about the passing of Kyle, who she had with Ryan Glover. That wasn't Usher's son. People were saying back then, oh, that's Usher's son. No, that's Ryan Glover, who was one of the co-owners of Bounce TV. So this is the backstory. So that happening, and then this, she learning about this afterwards, was a lot for her to deal with.
You understand. I'm sorry, start with that. You're not happy with the August 24th custody order, are you?
No, I never thought it was a fair ruling. No.
Thank you.
So what just happened here? And ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the post-trial coverage of the custody case. So this happened afterwards. I haven't played the before. This is a emergency hearing that happened afterwards. John Mayu, rest in peace, asked her, you're not happy about the outcome of the custody case? So he's insinuating that maybe this hearing was done as a result of the outcome and not because there was an accident and maybe proper care wasn't there at the time he was in the pool.
Ma'am, did Mr. Raymond tell you if there's a video of this incident?
He did say there's a video, that he has watched the video. I asked for it.
Has he allowed you to see it?
No, he has not.
Okay. And can you clarify that Mr. Raymond said he learned that Aunt Raina did not rescue these boys?
Irina did not rescue them. No.
Do you have criticism of someone leaving your child unattended even if he is underwater?
I have an issue with you leaving the scene to run down in a basement, so that means both kids were in the water.
And both women left to your knowledge?
And both women ran down the stairs, but one had an IV, so it was not running down the stairs as well. It's very, very murky. The information is very convoluted.
And Mr. Mayu said that the only new thing is this pool accident. That's not true, is it?
Oh,
I answered that question in cross-examination, and now she's suggesting an answer to her and I'm correcting them, which is highly wrong.
I can read this.
Please don't. She's been examined on direct and on cross, and we have answers. All you're gonna do is ask her to repeat testimony she said on direct, so please move on.
Are you familiar with Mr. Raymond's neighborhood where he lives?
no, I'm not.
Have you ever been to the house?
Never been to the house.
Do you have any idea how far, well, where did Mr. Raymond tell you he was when this happened?
He told me that he was at Silent Sound Studio with Mark Fitz.
Do you know where that is?
It's not 5 minutes from that address. No, it is not. He told me that's where he was.
And he told you that on Monday?
He told me that at the hospital.
Let me ask you guys a question. This is for the ladies. I saw the comment that Brick City may be New Jersey, but shout out to Sharp James, shout out to Jersey's Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. But she had an issue, or she has an issue with how Tamika moves today. If you married Usher Raymond, and at the time he was still a big superstar, would you drop his last name if you had married him and you got a divorce? Or would you use the last name as part of your brand? And fellas, would you want, once you divorce, would you want her to carry your name? Because technically she can still use the name. She done change IDs and it has helped her. Would you want to retain the name, or would you say, nah, let me go back to my regular old name that don't have the value that a Raymond name has? I just wanted to know, because for me, I'm like, hey, we're not together anymore. Yo, give me back my name. Give me back my name. And there's some people that will keep that name and never get married and still maintain the last name. And sometimes, Tamika toggles with the name. She uses Foster. Sometimes she uses Raymond. But if you married and you have 2 children by the guy, and you raise his kids, and I mean, is it wrong for her to keep the name? I don't know. So She said, so Brick says, I still have my husband's last name and haven't been together since the 90s. What?
These niggas lacking.
What are you talking about? What? Since the 90s? Wait a minute. Since the 90s? Is there a reason for that? Is there a reason for that? I don't know.
Appreciate, Ms. Raymond, that if Aunt Raymond had to run down to the basement to get those men and pull your son out, he might not have survived.
I can appreciate that.
Thank you.
Your Justice Raymond across.
Well, suggested,
So today, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to show some of my past work, some of the clips that you probably didn't have an opportunity to see because all the clips weren't released. You know, there was a portion released on TMZ, but this hearing lasted a couple of hours. So I wanted to share some of the high-profile cases I covered well before the YSL trial, well before a lot of these trials. So I've been in courtrooms for a long time. And prior to that, I covered another big high-profile case that was in the West Coast. But my point is, a lot of you didn't get the opportunity to be inside the courtroom. I think it's important for cameras to be in the courtroom, even in family cases, because you can see how these, and the lead attorney, he's a former family law attorney, but some of the stories that he tell, I've seen this play out with big name celebrities and with not so big. It's another case I just covered in another county just recently that they didn't have the bucks that Usher has, but it was still a very contentious trial. And you can see how judges rule based on the status of the other individual. And not to say Usher's money influenced the judge's outcome, but I'm going to say it might have influenced the judge's outcome. You know, it might have influenced the judge's outcome because he had the financial wherewithal, hired the best attorneys. He has the wealth. You know, and not to say Tamika doesn't have, she has bread as well, but they look at that and the judge in this case, in this part of the case, was Judge Koger. He's a now retired Fulton County judge. And and I'll give you some backstory. In the actual trial that was before this one, it was Judge Bensonetta Lane. She's a retired judge. And that was very interesting case because some of the stuff, if anyone remember that coverage, there was so much accusations by the lawyer that represented Tamika, and it got ugly. It got so ugly because people were taking a beating in this case. And I was right there. And I tell you something, Usher said something to me back then. He said something to me at the end of the case. And I'm going to share the story because none of my colleagues, I'm going to show you how, real journalists respect other journalists' work. So there were a bunch of cameras outside at the decision of that case, and Usher he hadn't came downstairs yet. And when I tell you there was all the local news channels, I was there. Usher comes downstairs, and this is a true story. I never tell a story. Usher comes downstairs. He comes out the courthouse. He sees all these reporters standing there. I want to be new Judge Whitaker. Anyway, he sees all these reporters standing there, and they have their microphones and everything out in their hand. They're ready to get a statement. Usher stops in front of me. He stops in front of me. He says, Mr. Byron, I don't like you. I said, Usher, why you don't like me? You covered this case. This happened. But you'll never see the footage because everyone turned their cameras off. They weren't trying to put that out there. But since then, ladies and gentlemen, he and I are we good. But I had a job to do. At the time, I was covering it. I had a job to do. And there was two varying opinions about this case. So it was like David and Goliath. People were seeing Tamika take a beating in this case. Then they were trying to defend her. And then there were people trying to defend Usher. But I was the guy with the camera. So, it was a lot, but it was I would say it was the biggest celebrity story I covered. The biggest celebrity story I covered with a camera in the courtroom. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to share a bit of some archive footage that you guys probably never got a chance to see. Because if you didn't have a transcript, you weren't in the courtroom. You didn't have the opportunity to see this footage. So I think I'm going to be dropping some more. Now I don't think I know some more in the membership section, but I gave you guys the opportunity to see a clip of Usher giving testimony, and as well as Tamika. It gives you an opportunity to just see whether or not you want to take this on. You want to take your baby daddy, your baby mama to family court because it's not what it's not all that it cracks up to be. It really is not. And I've seen some of the biggest names from Tyrese to Luda to Iverson to Jeezy in these courtrooms, and others. And it's a list of them. I can't remember all the cases I've covered, but as I go through my archive, I'm like, wait a minute, I never shared that. Let me share that. But I'm gonna be dropping content obviously over the course of my time on Earth into the membership section. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed this clip. I will be dropping another one later today. So we're doing drops. We're trying to end the year right. So we're going to be doing drops of other cases, but this is just one of them. Hopefully, let me see if any questions there. No, we didn't check on Judge Glanville. Be more shorty. And where you been at, Be More Shorty? I haven't seen you, Be More Shorty. And yes, Tamika is a very skillful stylist. I want to share another story before I leave. So after the trial and the emergency hearing, I became to know Tamika better, a lot better. She started a foundation for her son Kyle, and she held many events surrounding his passing. And one of the events that she had was a 5K race. I signed up for it. And I'm like, I haven't done a marathon since I was in New York. So I signed up for it. And interestingly enough, there was 550 people that signed up for it. I came number 37 in the race. So your boy was doing his thing back then. I don't know how I did it, but I was in there. I stayed into the end. But she does different events surrounding Kyle's passing, and you guys should go follow her. She's really good people. She's really good people. She's actually really cool people. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna get ready for the next drop. So this is just one of them. We got another one coming. If you guys have any comments, leave them in the comment section. Make sure you're following this channel. Make sure you're following it. If you're watching on Twitter, make sure you are coming over to YouTube at Mr. Dennis Byron, and make sure you're following the content. Like and subscribe and share. I got so many stories. You know how old people like to tell stories? My grandparents used to tell stories. I said, where the video? They used to tell me stories. Where's the video, Grandma, Granddad? Where's the video? Now, I ain't gonna say my grandkids is not gonna say, Grandpa, where's the video? The video's right here. Here's the video. Here's the photos to support the story. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you. I really do. Make sure you tune in for the next drop, which is coming soon. With that, peace.